New this week from Mad Cave Studios, Dick Tracy #6, written by Alex Segura and Michael Moreci, art by Geraldo Borges. Just so I get your attention up front here, unfortunately TikTok is going away in January, so I encourage you to please follow my new YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/comicsyourcouch, where you will find a whole backlog of my videos from this channel, as well as some new ones. Well, in what feels like no time at all, we are returning to an analysis of the work of breakout comic book creator Alex Segura, after recently covering the new DC series, The Question All Along the Watchtower. In that review, I made mention of my love for his work with Michael Moreci in the new Dick Tracy series, so it only seems fitting that we dive into the latest installment of this surprisingly excellent revival at Mad Cave Studios. Dick Tracy is one of the longest-running, most iconic characters in the comic book medium, having been created by Chester Gould back in 1931. The series spent the majority of its history as a newspaper comic strip, though the characters also appeared in comic book publishing, like the Dick Tracy Weekly series from Blackthorn Publishing in 1996. And most recently, the character was revived for a limited series at IDW Publishing from Michael and Lee Allred, which was a series I had no idea about and I need to get my hands on immediately. All of this is to say that the character certainly has a storied history, which makes it hard to think that a new Dick Tracy series could ever have the serious, ingenuitive narrative potential in the world of modern comics. And yet, Alex Segura and Michael Moreci have demonstrably proven otherwise. If you have not been following this series, then now is actually the perfect time to jump in, as issue #6 marks a brand new chapter for Dick Tracy and his ensemble cast. That isn't to say there isn't some continuation of the plot from issues 1 through 5, which is available in a collected edition right now, but it's worth noting that a new reader could definitely pick this issue up and still follow along. I think what makes this series stand out to me is its unpredictability. To familiar comic fans, this series may appear on its surface as a pandering, unnecessary comic revival, like the recent wave of nostalgic Donald Duck and Uncle Scrooge comics at Marvel Comics. However, merely the first few pages of this series dissuade that cynical thinking, showcasing this title as an earnest modern perspective of Dick Tracy and the not-so-golden era in which he was developed. Rather than awkwardly inserting the old-school detective hero in an overtly modern setting, Segura and Moreci intelligently choose instead to utilize the pages of Dick Tracy in a dual role of exposing the harsh realities of the post-war era and the insidious criminal underworld that captivated the public imagination at the time. This is a dark, graphic, psychological take on the world of Dick Tracy comics, with only traces of the lighthearted, campy, Gilded Age sentiment that is associated with the series. Furthermore, the plot of the series thus far has been equally surprising and refreshing, delving into a complex mystery while exploring themes of trauma, gentrification, governmental corruption, and the psychology of crime. This is a nuanced, affecting title that is elevating the name and content of Dick Tracy while still paying homage to it. If you're looking to get into more comics outside of the big publishers like Marvel and DC, or if you're just a fan of classic crime fiction, like any book by Agatha Christie, or crime films such as Fritz Lang's classic film M, which I highly recommend, or Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window, you will definitely find something to love in this new saga of Dick Tracy. Let's talk more specifically about Dick Tracy issue #6, which means spoilers ahead. Our story begins with the slow, deliberate, chilling perspective of a concerned citizen checking in on his neighbor's home, which has been clearly broken into. Like a scene out of the best retro horror film of the year, our citizen enters the home with memories flashing before his eyes, before he stumbles upon his neighbor being beaten to death by a man dressed entirely in white, calling himself the Blank. The narration in this opening scene is excellently written, drawing you into the world of the story, eliciting emotion for characters that only end up appearing for like 3 pages. Moreover, the artwork from Geraldo Borges, which has been excellent throughout this entire series thus far, and the coloring from Mike Engelhardt work in harmony to make this scene as horrifying and cinematic as it should be. From here, we cut to the Club Ritz, where we see Dick Tracy and his recently deputized partner, Pat, interrogating the new mob boss in town, Fangs Foreman. I miss the old-timey names, man. I really do. Never one for subtlety, Tracy asks Fangs directly about the mysterious killings of men loyal to him, a question which Fangs coolly dodges. Fangs' businesslike demeanor sends Pat flying off the handle as he strikes the crime leader, meaning that Tracy has to leave without answers. As a fan of the series to date, it is evident from this introductory scene that Segura and Moreci are layering detail that is not evident right now, but is going to be expanded upon later, which just speaks to the high-caliber capability believability of these writers. In only a few pages, they've instilled an infectious quality in the reader wanting to know more about the mystery and seeing the layers peeled back. Next, we are treated to a scene with Dick Tracy and Tess Trueheart as they attempt to evolve their will they or won't they relationship from the first volume of the series as they attend a date at a local restaurant. However, Tess remarks that Tracy is clearly distracted by his work and the mysterious killings of late, which Tracy interprets as Tess trying to get information out of him as a reporter. Before things can get too ugly, though, hilariously, both Tess and Tracy are literally called away by business, departing as two shooting stars across the sky, as Segura and Moreci eloquently put it. Following Dick Tracy, we join Pat at the morgue as the two detectives are shown the gruesomely mutilated body of the most recent victim of the killer, and told by the morgue director that it is evident from the nature of the wounds that the killer enjoyed what he did. Furthermore, Tracy muses to Pat about the motive of the killer, confused as to why Fang's foreman would benefit from the murder of men once loyal to Lips Manless, our villain from Volume 1, that had willingly joined his new operation. Coldly, Pat replies that he isn't too concerned about a few gang members getting knocked off the board. But Tracy assures Pat that this killer needs to be stopped before he decides to start hurting anyone else, any innocent people. As if on cue, the morgue receives a call from Tess as she says that she picked up a lead on the killer on the south side and is now frightened that she's being followed. As Tracy and Pat rush to the scene, we see Tess stalked to a dark alley by the blank killer, who holds a knife to her head and whispers, "You are only alive because I allow you to be alive," which was all just so sinister it gave me goosebumps and made me check the locks on my doors. What's more, this sequence is rendered so effectively by Borges, with an intimate, claustrophobic focus on Tess and a heavy modern noir stylistic backdrop that makes the whole scene that much more striking. In our final pages, Tracy and Pat are able to rescue Tess and a fellow officer who mysteriously followed a lead to the crime scene, as they stumble upon the horrifying sight of yet another murder. The shocking pulp noir tone of this new chapter, as well as the excellent design of the blank killer, as well as the captivating writing throughout, has made Dick Tracy one of my most anticipated comic series, which I honestly did not expect going into the series. Please support your local comic book stores and pick up Dick Tracy issue number 6 on shelves now. I'm telling you, this is not goody two-shoes Dick Tracy. This shit is hard. Which isn't to say we don't have moments of humor like this. Another great artistic moment from Geraldo Borges. I love this page. I also want to say I love that they have kept Dick Tracy in his bright banana yellow suit, Pat in his purple suit. These characters are very true to their origins, whereas I feel like a lesser modern adaptation would have ditched the yellow suit because it's goofy. Shit is getting real. I mean, the first volume of this series was more of a crime procedural, but now we're getting into like a legit serial killer. This is crazy.